at Zuckerberg play to his Democrat allies. Do you know who he blames for the fact that he sells all of your secrets? Do you know who he blames for taking money, for giving you up? He blames the Russians.
You know, I think what's clear is that in 2016, we were not as on top of a number of issues as we should have, whether it was Russian interference or fake news. But what we have seen since then is, a number of months later, there was a major French election, and there we deployed some AI tools that did a much better job of identifying Russian bots and basically Russian potential interference and weeding that out of the platform ahead of the election. And we were much happier with how that went.
He really thinks we're that stupid that we'll be distracted by that. Well, maybe we will be. The Russians are the problem. Fake news is the problem. I'm sorry, what is fake news, which basically means opinions that the liberals don't like? What does that have to do with the fact that Zuckerberg sells your personal information to get rich? What's fake news got to do with that? Oh, but by the way, the Russians didn't do it. As in, they didn't hack the election. They didn't even hack Facebook. Don't take it from me. Take it from the VP of Facebook ads himself, Rob Goldman. Here's what Goldman said just last month. Most of the coverage of Russian meddling involves their attempt to affect the outcome of the 2016 U.S. election. I have seen all of the Russian ads, and I can say very definitively that swaying the election was not the main goal. This is the vice president of Google here. Yeah, really. As if he's saying, Zuckerberg's a liar. Here's more from Goldman. The majority of the Russian ad spend happened after the election. We shared that fact, but very few outlets have covered it because it doesn't align with the main media narrative of Trump and the election. Zuckerberg is a sociopath, a liar. He'll say or do anything. He'll blame Russia because it's easier than blaming himself. And there's a big payoff. If he blames Russia, it gives him the power to ban political things that he himself doesn't like. Watch.
During the special election in the Senate seat in Alabama, we deployed some new AI tools that we built to detect fake accounts that were trying to spread false news. And we found a lot of different accounts coming from Macedonia. So, I think the reality here is that this isn't rocket science, right? I mean, there's a lot of hard work that we need to do to make it harder for nation states like Russia to do election interference, to make it so that trolls and other folks can't spread fake news. But we can get in front of this. And we have a responsibility to do this, not only for the 2018 midterms in the US, which are going to be a huge deal this year, and that's just a huge focus of us, but there's a big election in India this year, there's a big election in Brazil, there are big elections around the world, and you can bet that we are really committed to doing everything that we need to make sure that the integrity of those elections on Facebook is secured.
I know what he's talking about. He shut down 30,000 Facebook accounts in France right before the election that supported Marine Le Pen, the conservative candidate there. 30,000 accounts. They were fake. Trust him. He wouldn't lie to you, would he? Of course they were fake. No trial, no hearing, no proof, no warning, no notice. Just him putting his finger on the delete button. Did you see what he did there? Ask him why he's selling your private data for cash to his friends like Barack Obama, and he'll get really mad at the Russians or right-wingers, and he'll censor them to punish them. How is that a solution to Zuckerberg selling your data? It's not. There was a moment in that CNN Love-In where he said he'd be all for regulation.
Given the stakes here, why shouldn't Facebook be regulated?
I actually am not sure we shouldn't be regulated. I think in general, technology is an increasingly important trend in the world. And I actually think the question is more, what is the right regulation rather than yes or no, should it be regulated?
Well, of course, there is regulation of Facebook right now in Canada, in America, in Europe, around the world. Facebook is subject to the law of the land like any other company, like a bank. It's just a matter of those laws being enforced. He wants regulation, but I think I know what that means. It's like in Alberta, when the 4 biggest oil sands companies said they all agreed to big regulations from Rachel Notley, a carbon tax and a maximum production cap on the oil sands. Well, of course they did. because they were able to get into the deal and navigate their way through the regulatory system. They'd hire a dozen top-notch lobbyists and they'd make sure they made out just fine in the regulations, just like those 4 oil sands companies managed to get subsidies to cover their carbon tax costs. But what they really wanted to do is regulate out of existence any would-be competitors. In Alberta, the 4 oil sands companies got a cap on total oil sands production, which basically means a ban on new competitors. The existing guys are fine. That's what Facebook wants. They want to be regulated in a form that Zuckerberg would suggest. They'd find a way to keep their monopoly to work with the new rules and use any regulations to smash any would-be upstarts. So what's the answer here? I think Trump really should look at a trust-busting approach to these Facebook monopolies. I know it's not the libertarian answer, but Facebook literally has more than 2 billion users, and there has never in history been a monopoly like it. And Zuckerberg is clearly a lying robber baron. I think that's a real thing to consider, but also don't let him weasel and lobby his way through this with his friends in Congress. I think he should be sued in a massive class action suit by the 50 million people who allegedly had their terms of service violated. Where are the mass tort lawyers in the U.S.? Where are all those litigators of fortune, those pirates? Surely this is the biggest, richest target yet, more than any tobacco company, more than any pharmaceutical company. Sue Mark Zuckerberg, sue that serial liar. Get the facts through the disclosure processes of the lawsuit. Who got the data? Who broke the laws? Who knew? Who approved? Who got rich off it? That's an excerpt from my daily TV show, The Ezra Levant Show. Normally it's behind a paywall, but I thought you'd like this video, so we put it on YouTube. If you want to subscribe to watch the daily show every day, including always 2 interviews a day, and I read my hate mail, just click on this screen and become a premium member.